Hello, runners. How are you all doing? This is Coach Bala here. So excited to come back to you with yet another episode of podcast with runners, fellow runners, coaches, luminaries from other fields, all related to running. And for those of you who are seeing this for the first time or hearing an episode like this for the first time, I got to tell you, man, this is one of the more sought out content that we deliver time to time. About 6 to 7 such podcasts we aim for in a season. And the idea here is let us hear from others. The learning should not happen only from coaches to the runners, from top down. It should also be 360 degrees from fellow runners, other luminaries that are connected directly or indirectly with the sport, so that it's all about learning, as you all know. So it is within that construct. I am extremely excited to bring in two of my very good friends. In fact, one of them is my teacher, my yoga teacher, to talk about this very important, interesting field of yoga. And I'm sure we have discussed this in the past. Yoga and running goes very closely together. But that said, there is always a lot of questions, fundamental to advanced questions people have. And I myself have had for a long time. And recently, I gotten introduced in a very structured manner, thanks to the two friends that you all are seeing. And I'm just impressed. So this podcast is about that. Let's first, but before we do all of that, let me first warmly invite my two guests to the program. Welcome, ladies. And why don't I allow you to first introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can go from there. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for having us here. I can go first. So my name is Madhu Goenka. I grew up in India, in Calcutta, in an environment with actually a very heavy focus on yoga and naturopathy. My grandfather used to be an ardent practitioner of yoga, and he ran an institute for naturopathy and yoga and dedicated last 20 years of his life basically healing patients using natural remedies. So that's kind of my background. I moved to the US in 2001 for my MBA in College of William and Mary, Williamsburg, Virginia. It's a beautiful little town. Love that. And since then, for the past 19 years, I've been in financial services in the large banks and working in various capacities. Most recently in the last, I would say not recently, last 10 years, I've been in Wilmington, Delaware. I live with my husband and two girls, 16 years and 11 years. They keep me immensely busy, as you can relate as well. So that's my life. In terms of my, very briefly on my yoga journey, it started a few years ago when I was diagnosed with various health issues, and the most prominent of them was migraines, which was really coming in the way of my day-to-day activities. There were days, sometimes weeks, I was not able to do things. And that's when a close relative of mine introduced me to a yoga teacher from India who had a university degree, like Dimple, we have, and who was a licensed yoga therapist. Both were new concepts to me that time, but it changed my life. I did one-to-one yoga therapy 3 days a week through video call and just changed my life. And that basically inspired my family and I to essentially close this gap and, just bring this service at scale to people. And hence we decided to form FitnessKriya.
Amazing, and I'm sure Madhu will talk a little bit more about that today. So you know what I love about these introductions is I always see so many connections that inadvertently happen in these introductions. Like for instance, I already see three very interesting things between you and I, which I don't think so we have talked about before. One, a father of two daughters, mother of two daughters, so parent of two daughters. It's always a very special a feeling to have lovely daughters around. So I'm sure you're enjoying time with them. You should enjoy it more because it goes away very quickly. My elder daughter is now 24 and hardly have any time with her. I feel that I should have spent more time when they are like that age, 16 to 11. And then the second one is, I did my graduation in Calcutta as well. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, I was in Calcutta. I was in, marine engineering school in the Kharagpur area. That's where I was. And so Calcutta is a very special place for me as well. So that's the second one I saw. And third one, when you said College of William and Mary, I'll tell you, a legend in runner's high and my very close friend And she's just legend in all, by any stretch of definition from a running standpoint. In fact, she's not even from this universe. She's from a different galaxy. And her
I think
name,
I know who you're talking about.
her name is Sonia Ahuja. And she also from the graduate from the same college. And I think she's your classmate. Is that right?
Very close batchmate. We spent many hours together those 2 years in the
Uh,
MBA program.
wow. But did she even run at those
And
times?
she was always different. She was, very persistent, hardworking, and different, but I did not know she could do this. That
Think about
potential
it.
of what she's doing now, I could not imagine.
Did you believe it when I told you that she's this Uber next galaxy runner right now?
I wouldn't believe it back then.
See, so runners, that's what I'm talking about. World is small, and you can be a world class anything if you just put your mind to it. And that's what Sonia did and shown that example on all of us, right? But thank you, Madhu. Welcome to the program. That's been an awesome introduction. Let me invite the next guest. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Bala, for this opportunity. I'm really glad to be here. I'm Dimple. I stayed in Maharashtra, Jalgaon. I've completed my schooling, I've completed my degree there itself, and even a degree in naturopathy and yogic sciences from Jalgaon. And currently, I'm staying in Bangalore, and I've completed my master's in yoga therapy from Bangalore, and even working here itself now as a yoga therapist and same in the same constant field, yoga as well as fitness, where it requires in what way.
Amazing. And I gather you're also used to start, began your sort of in school, you used to represent college for volleyball. Is that right?
Yeah, that's completely correct. That I used to represent my college, my schooling. I have an inter-university player as a volleyball and even for running. And that was the correct time when I was introduced for yoga. And it really helped me a lot to do that because I really found that it was very difficult for me without that relaxation to continue with that. But now it's really good. Like I realize what different it is after going into yoga. And now currently I'm preparing for my PhD in yoga therapy.
PhD in yoga, folks. We are talking of some serious yoga talent here, both in terms of practitioner as well as theory behind it. And I must tell you, we will discuss this more, but I got introduced to yoga thanks to Madhu and Dimple and few others recently, and I almost feel my career path in running has changed 5 degrees or few degrees. And as you all know, as we keep running more, the degrees will take into a completely different path. Hopefully, even if I am in the same trajectory, it'll be somewhere very different than what I used to be before. And I'm experiencing it, and Dimple is my teacher. And I'm so glad that I have her for teaching, and we'll discuss a little bit more on this. PhD in yoga, masters in yoga and naturopathy as well, a runner, an athlete, and what else we want? We have a perfect audience here to discuss this beautiful topic of yoga. Which school and college you went to, Dimple?
I was in St. Lawrence School, which was a convent school, and for college, for yoga specifically, it was Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan, like SVSI University. It's almost a top-rated university where they have a concept of yoga therapy in the same campus. We have hospital as well as the research lab, so we don't have to go out for a study, a curriculum, and it was really a very good journey for me. When I was there, it was a completely residential program where we are not stepping out of a college very easily and completely staying into the same environment and studying there itself.
Of course, it's always fun. It's always fun to do that. And PhD, is there any particular focus? Like, you normally do a certain research or something on something, right?
Yeah. So as a part of my master's program, we were even having that research project to be submitted. Yeah. So I have completed research in diabetic peripheral neuropathy to create a yoga module based on the studies which has been already there available. And on that basis, taking a validation from multiple yoga experts in the field of diabetes, I have prepared a yoga module. And now I really want to go with the feasibility. Like once the testing of the program has been done very well, that can be really useful for multiple people around. Because nowadays, when it comes, like we have a lot of population suffering with diabetic conditions.
Yeah, I know.
So I want to work on that a lot.
That's awesome. I mean, so Madhu, this diabetes and running also is a phenomenal positive connection. I've had so many examples in my group where people had a pretty high A1C and then ran for 2 seasons, and suddenly their diabetologist says, hey, stop their medicines, you're out of the diabetic range. And people are like amazed. And there is I'm sure, Dimple can add more light when we talk later. There is a connection between a proper systematic workouts and diabetes and stimulation of the pancreas and that type of stuff, I'm assuming. But hey, guys, this is awesome. Can't wait to get started with a little bit more discussion. Welcome to the program. Thank you for your time. We clearly have the raw material and the firepower to discuss yoga and yoga for running right now. But now let us dumb it down here. Of course, I'm not a PhD, nor are the people who are below. So let's start with a dumb question. I want to start off with a very dumb question. What is yoga? Please help me understand this simple question. And maybe Madhu, you want to offer some thoughts and then we can go to Dimple.
Yeah, sure. I think very generally and simply put, yoga is just a way of life. Like for me, yoga is just a way of life. It's not something glamorous, it's not a fad, it's not something episodic either. It's a day-to-day. In Sanskrit, actually, the true literal meaning of yoga means to unite. So it's the harmony of essentially the body, the breath, and the mind, and which is how the yoga practice is structured. In fact, I think one good analogy, just like we have 5 sensory organs, yoga has 5 different layers.
Mm-hmm.
And the yoga practice and the curriculum that is, at least in a traditional, authentic yoga style, the way it's created, it's addressing those 5 different layers of the body, which will be great if Dimple, if you can shed some light into the 5 koshas or the layers.
Sure.
Yeah, that's really good. I'll thank you so much. I'll just continue with it. So when it comes, like we know, like physically we can see our 5 sensory organs of our body, like eyes, nose, our skin, we can visibly see it. So when it comes to yoga and the detailed spiritual concepts about yoga, we have ancient text into that. So there are 5 layers of our body, which starts from the grosser and goes towards the most innermost layer of your body. So it starts with the Annamaya Kosha, that is your grosser physical body, which you can see, which you can touch, that is what your physical body is. The second layer goes that your Pranamaya Kosha, that is your breath, which is running in you. Then the third one goes with the Manomaya Kosha, which is basically your mental state of your body, which we can directly connect with the mental state of your body. Then we have Vijnanamaya Kosha, that is the intellectual state of your body. And the Anandmaya Kosha is the state of ultimate bliss, where a person comes out of the materialistic needs of your body and that sort of thing when it comes to a practical concepts. So I'd like to explain a bit, but not getting into too details about that. So Annamaya Kosha is like your physical body, where we work. Like for example, we work by diet, we work by workout. So where it comes to physical body, according to yoga, we implicate asanas to that. So whatever asanas we are doing, it is to enhance your physical body.
Got it.
So it will be affecting your muscles, it will be affecting your tissues and your joints and all that. That is your Annamaya Kosha. So we are trying to strengthen our Annamaya Kosha. Then it comes to your Pranamaya Kosha, where we go with some breathing practices. It might be the breathing practices connected with your postures itself, like where we go with synchronized practices. And it might be some pranamic practices where we go with breath control. So breath control doesn't mean directly holding of your breath. It's like where we first initially train ourselves to manipulate our breathing by ourselves, how much we can do it. And then later on over the different stages. Third one is your Manomaya Kosha. That is the mental state of our body, which is really, really very important to work nowadays.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when we are working now, most of us, we have some stress, some pressure, some working load, family stress, some of the other things. But at the end, we won't focus for a lot. Again, we have something to go next day and we won't focus what it's happening. And 80% of our disease conditions starts from your mental state. If the mental health is not as stabilized, then it comes to the grosser body, which will be seen. But when you see any sort of illness on your body, it's there from last back, your mind is getting affected, and because of which it comes there. And that is where Manomaya Kosha is. So we go with some meditative practices to relax your stress, to cool down your mind, and then it helps to strengthen your mental state. Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha is more of detailed philosophical compared to the practical, like intellectual body, how we will strengthen your intellectual body. So
Yeah.
we go with some sort of chantings. Like whenever we go with some sort of chanting, you can feel an instant relaxation going on. Once you stop, you'll feel an instant relaxation in your brain. That's where your Vijnanamaya Kosha, the knowledge state, stays. And last one is Anandamaya Kosha. When all these four states are balanced, ultimately your body leads to the final state. That's what the 5 layers of your
Beautiful.
body is.
Beautiful. And Madhu, you said yoga is about union, right? Is that what you said? Like, what is the word you
Yeah.
used?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking for the viewers, the way I would summarize this beautiful structure of yoga answer is yoga is a union. It's about union of many forces that a human being has to deal with. And when all these union, when it all comes together, you reach the state of bliss, which is happiness, which is what is the last one you mentioned? The what kosha is that?
Anandamaya Kosha, the state of happiness.
Anandam, exactly, Anandmaya kosha. And things that you need to align and bring it together, of course, things your body, your breath, your mental state, your intellect, all of this comes together. You reach that state of bliss, and that's the happiness. And why this connects with me is if you come back to the runners and the runner's eyes point of view, we always talk about that, right? Align yourself, mind, body, and soul. If you want to go for a run and then you want that run to feel as if you're not even running, which we call it as in the zone running. We call it as in the zone running because when you run in the zone, you actually don't even realize you're running. Miles just goes by, and that's how people finish marathons. That's because they're able to align their mind, body, and soul. And if you think about it, it's another beautiful way. And yoga is actually doing the same thing. They reach the state of bliss where everything gets into alignment, and you don't waste your energy, waste on things that doesn't matter, and you're just focusing all of this together. Such a beautiful explanation. Thank you, Dimple. Thank you, Madhu. I would have never thought yoga could have been explained like this because if you had asked me, say 3 years ago, which, by the way, unfortunately is what the general understanding of yoga for a normal, common man. Hey, you want to do yoga? What do you think is yoga? Maybe that's what you should do, Madhu. Just go and randomly take an interview from, common people. Tell me what is your definition or understanding of yoga. It'll be something around, it's about wearing some yoga pants and going for some cool classes and just twisting yourself into pretzel and come back. And I would say then the follow-up of that is I can't twist myself into pretzel. I'm not into this meditation thingy. I'm not religious by nature, so I can't be thinking about God and all that. And if that is what I feel yoga is there, and I can't go to New York City every time, which I said before. So your explanation of yoga has got nothing to do with all of these things, which is, I think, is an important starting point for this discussion. So Dimple, let me ask the next, if not dumb question, but a basic question. Now, as a newcomer, when think about yoga, there is like a whole lot of jargons of yogas just comes crashing onto us, So can you throw some light on what are the fundamental types of yogas out there from a beginner standpoint or even an intermediate standpoint? Does it matter which yoga you have to do? If so, why? If not, why? Some thoughts on that, please.
When it comes to this question, it's really, these styles are nothing. It's just we have a root form of yoga. When it comes to text and everything, the postures what we are practicing, there are major 84 postures which has been mentioned in your Hatha Yoga text. So those 84 postures, the way of doing that postures has been changed in different style. Other yoga stays the same. Yoga doesn't change. The asanas doesn't change. It will be the same only, but the way changes. Like for example, if you're tying a rope and over that, if you're doing it, it's aerial yoga. And when you're using some sort of props and going with a detailed alignment, detailed holdings, that is your Iyengar form of yoga. But the posture remains the same. It doesn't changes. When you go with the flow of your breath, as well as when you synchronize your postures with your breathing, it's nowhere like vinyasa. It's somewhere, it's completely vinyasa yoga.
I see.
And theoretically, when we go with Ashtanga yoga, Ashta Anga, that is the 8 limbs. Like, for example, as we have limbs in our body, even according to Maharishi Patanjali, he is one of the person who has written a text of 195 verses. So in that, it's mentioned that we have 8 limbs of yoga. Not getting into too details about that, that are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Basically, just going into the names, this is the way of life, complete way of life. What you should do in your life, what you should not do in your life, how the asana should be practiced, how you should practice your pranayama things. Like that, it's completely a detailed way. And when what Ashtanga we are practicing physically now, it's like more focused towards your breath as well as the flow of asanas. So not going into traditional way, but from one asana, you take one posture and then you release it completely, and then we go with the other posture. Where the Ashtanga and Vinyasa work, they don't simply go in one posture and then release it. It's like they will be going into one, from one posture directly getting into the other one, from second one directly getting into the third one. It's like completely a chain which attracts people, and it helps more on your strengthening work, strengthening, stability, balance. It works really well for that. These are some ways of practicing. And when it comes to an Iyengar yoga, they are the people, they work on the quality more, and by using some sort of props. Like, we know very well, when you come to a yoga studio, any of the yoga class, it's not only the first day you can get into the postures very easily. You will be a bit stiff, somewhere your back will be stiff, you can't bend completely. So what to do at that time? At that time, you can simply use some props. Like, for example, we have a yoga block, we have yoga strap. So by using this very simple props, how you can align, how you can feel that correct alignment of your body, how the posture should go. So in that way, that's it, what Iyengar yoga is. So I don't suggest to go with any style of yoga. Just go with yoga. Just go with the postures, but don't run behind only achieving the advanced postures. Just try to go into detailed about the minute postures. That is what the important thing is.
Makes sense. And
To add, that's really good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, a really good point Dimple made at the end, like to answer directly your question for newcomers or people who were trying to figure out which type of class to attend. I would say that I feel that I do think in some Western countries, we do box yoga into different categories.
Yeah.
I do think our traditional, authentic Indian yoga is like a blend of practices based on what you need. It could be a blend. Hatha yoga is the core, but it could be a blend if you're looking for strengthening conditioning, add vinyasa flows to it, and ashtanga flows to it, and so on and so forth. Pranayama is woven in throughout.
Absolutely. No, I can see that. I can totally. So I think the answer that I would summarize, as I always do after every question, is, guys, as you start the yoga practice, first understand that yoga is about unity, bringing it to the 4 or 5 things that we talked about in the previous answer to come to a state of bliss. That's really what the larger sort of direction is. Now, that's the road to the destination. Now, you can go in minivan, you can go in motorbike, you can go in, as long as you are in the journey, you are in the right journey. So instead of stressing over which type of car to take, how should the leather upholstery be and all that, make sure you get on a car first and start moving towards the destination. Later on, you can figure it out. So starting yoga is more important, which is 80% is common for any type of yoga. And then later on, as you get more and more, you can figure it out what you need to do, depending upon what you want to do. For a large portion, as I think Dimple rightly said, there are about 84 or so asana. What do you call that? Asanas? That is sort of postures. That's the base that drives everything. That's the basic operating system that drives all the applications. So don't worry about it. The basic operating system is the same. So you will always have a nice, starting point. Whichever way you do it, you will have that. It's a great way to sort of quickly come to the next question here, which is yoga therapeutic? Is it just an exercise, or is it just something that can also be used? Because Dimple, you mentioned about the diabetes thing, but I want to start this question with Madhu, because Madhu, you touched a little bit about how yoga actually solved some of your migraine issues. So it begs the question, is yoga a therapeutic tool as well? How to think about that?
So definitely, I do think there's a big difference. There's yoga instruction, then there's yoga therapy. Yoga instruction is what we traditionally generally know yoga as. When we go to a yoga studio, drop into a class, that's generally yoga instruction. Yoga therapy, the way I understand it, is that it's science and evidence based, and it's generally incorporates postures, breath work, and meditation in a special sequence based on what ailment or what health condition you're trying to deal with. For me, it was migraine, so it was a certain set of postures, certain set of pranayamas and meditation tactic to deal with it. And some, I would say, very common health conditions that yoga therapy helps with is like blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid, all kinds of body pains. Those are some of the common things. You have to be a licensed yoga therapist to be able to give yoga therapy to someone. 2 hour or 300 or 500 teacher training hours is not sufficient. It's a separate yoga therapist, and generally it works best one-to-one.
Yeah.
Just because each person needs are different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would say for yoga therapy. But maybe Dimple can shed some light on how the master's curriculum also equipped, like how it is structured from a therapeutic yoga point of view.
Yeah. So when it comes to yoga therapy, ma'am, you really said it very correctly, Madhuji, that it's not a person with 300 or 400 hours of some course and we can come and go with therapy. There should be a licensed person to practice that. And to getting that license, it's a complete dedicated 2 years program, which we have to go with residential way, where we work first. Initially, we go out with the anatomical portion of your body. We learn how your body is, how the functions of your body works. Then later on, it gets into the pathologies of disease. Because when it comes to therapy, there are some medical conditions, like just as you explained it, mentioned it. It might be thyroid, it might be blood pressure, it might be diabetic. So in every condition, there is some sort of disorder in your regular systems in the body. So for example, not getting into, but diabetic when it comes, so it is the imbalance in the pancreas which is happening. There is some cells which are not getting produced, and the glucose in the body is not getting utilized. So it runs in the blood and the sugar level increases. This is what the diabetic is. But in general person, it won't be there. So we have to learn every medical condition, what is the exact things happening in the body at the same time. That we call as pathophysiology.
Got it.
Okay. And when it comes to yoga therapy, so it's not only just learning the pathology and you can apply the asanas, any of the postures over that. So it's evidence-based yoga therapy. It's like we go thoroughly with some of the research articles mentioned in some of the international journals. For example, that is PubMed, Google Scholar. We can find multiple things there. So people have done lot of research into the details, lot of research. If we can go and search it out, we'll get hundreds of thousands of papers published there, which we can go thoroughly, where they have literally went with the people, they have done the trial, they have seen how the things are working, what are the difference and everything. So like that, the therapy works. And going more further, it's like, as a part of our curriculum, it was 6 months of hospital training, where we went with each and every different sort of disease. So we were having some sections into that. So for example, when it comes to
so before we go deeper into the curriculum, because I can see the arc of what needs to happen. So you are a yoga therapist, isn't it? Because you've done the MSc program.
Yeah.
So the yoga therapist means it is like the going towards the physical therapist side of things. Is that fair to say? Somewhat like that. Instead of just doing yoga as an exercise, like go to LA Fitness and have a trainer, this yoga therapist is like actually, like how you would go to a physical therapist and try to fix an ailment. Is that how the yoga therapist can also be viewed?
Yeah, perfectly. It's like that only. When a person comes to a yoga therapist, they have to go with the diagnosis. First, we go with the reports and everything and go detailed into what are their needs, what is this current situation for their body, and what specifically is needed for them to heal with their things.
Absolutely.
So it's not posture. Your body heals itself. So we just support it by some postures, breathing practices, and all those, and it gives a miraculous results in the people.
Yes, because why I was going towards that is audience. One of the aha moments for me, which I wanted to say, is that when you started talking with Madhu, I said, hey, listen, I've never done yoga and all. Part of the reason is I have a pretty severe back issue, like slip disc issue 25 years ago when I was a young boy. And then ever since then, I've been living, as you all know, audience, you all know that my journey there. So I said, I don't know. I mean, I can't do the bending and all. I mean, back is totally messed up. Mobility is not at all there. Flexibility is not there. And when I got introduced to Dimple, and Dimple got that, she was first talking to me about that. Like, and then I feel in the last 3 or 4, 5 sessions that we have done, that focus on using yoga to solve focused on the back hip mobility scenario has been a game changer. And I can't wait how I will be 6 months from now, because I can see that my back is opening up. And for lack of a more savory example, I never, audience, I'm just telling you, I never could sit in the eastern toilet position. Never. Cannot do that. Like, even half of it, I will just writhe in pain. I'll say screw it, right? Because it's almost 25 years since I've ever sat. Even in India, people are not sitting these days. I know, Dimple, we talked about it today. But today, like right now, if I go and sit, I can sit for at least 1 minute. Yes, it'll be discomfort, but I can sit for a minute, and I know that another 5, 6, because I can see the trajectory, I'll be able to do that. That's a therapeutic change that has happened by just 4 or 5 sessions of yoga. So I feel very, it's something that everyone should think. So I know that some people came to me and said, I have neck issues. I can see how a yoga can help that person. I saw somebody said, I have a frozen shoulder. I can't move beyond this. I can again see how a yoga can, if not completely solve it, will be able to help. And running causes a lot of knee issues, Dimple, as you know. So I know there will be yogas that can specifically go for the kinetic chain strengthening, which is very important for running. So I think there's a lot that yoga for runners and athletes and the therapy. So that's my next question. Is that fair to say, when we think about yoga for runners, typically how should a runner and yoga, how will that come together in your mind, Dimple?
It's very important when you are going with any sort of thing which is constantly stimulating, the relaxation should go by the side. So when it comes for runners specifically, you are always using your hip, your hamstring, your knee joint, and your calf muscle, but we never go with the stretches and relaxation of this muscles. So longer a time, if you're doing what they're saying, the muscle starts becoming very stiff. And if it's stiff, it has the chances of getting teared up easily. So we feel like, okay, now my hamstring has been teared, I need to take rest for 15 days at least. There is a lot of pain in my hip, I need to take rest. That is where yoga plays a very important role. So every day, if you can go with some sort of practices which are more focused towards that specific region, even though if you don't want to go into completely body, but if you can focus specifically your back, your hip, your hamstring, and your calf, never you will feel the pressure towards your knee and your ankle joint. If you are working on the really very well, your joints will never be harmed. So that is what yoga really plays a very important role. The stretching part really plays a very important role for recovering with that.
Exactly. So Madhu, you brought up a beautiful point in our side discussion. Would love for you to share that thought about strengthening and going to gym type of muscle, what you do, muscle workout you do versus yoga. Throw some light on that, please. I felt that was a great point.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is around as we go to the gym and we work out, we do strength training and so on. And there's a general perception that you do strength training in the gym and yoga is for relaxation. So I just wanted to draw that, analogy here, that when we go to the gym and we are doing strength training, there's certain types of muscles that we are working. And when we complement yoga with that, I think it's the flexors and extensors. Maybe Dimple, you can share more detail on the technical side of it. When we lengthen the muscles with yoga, it also helps the strengthening and conditioning practices, just like it would for running or any other athletic practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything to add on that side of things? Extension.
Yeah. So flexion of a muscle and extension of a muscle. So flexion of a muscle is like shortening of your muscles. So just for example, if you're doing a bicep curl, you'll just curl it and the muscle get shortened up. That is what the flexion, it's happening, a flexion of muscle. And yoga works more over towards the extension of your muscle. So when you're simply flexing a muscle, there is very much chance we need to extend it make it again towards the normal state. But when we come to a gymming, we just go with the flexion of every muscle to train it and pump it. It really looks good for a person, like when they go gym, okay, now my hands are like this, now I'm not able to straight, but it looks good. But after a longer time, what happens? You can't even stretch your hands. You will be like this only. Your shoulder will start curling somewhere. So it gets stiff. So yoga works more on the extension part, when the lengthening part. So once you lengthen your muscle, it becomes relaxed and your body posture remains the same what it is naturally. We don't adopt any sort of different body postures because of the exercises more. So this is how yoga works on the like extension part a lot.
Absolutely. And runners, let me throw in some running coach concept thought process on this, because it's a very fascinating field. So in various of my messages, if you think about it, I've always zoned in on running is a sum output of your muscles in your kinetic chain expanding and contracting. That's really what the brain is sending the signal for the muscles to expand and to contract, and that action of expansion and contraction is what is propelling you forward. That's running at its core. Now, if you connect that thought process with this, you can do strength training and other training, and running itself is giving you the expansion and a contraction. But we say, hey, you got to stretch, you got to stretch, you got to stretch. And if you don't stretch, you will injure, because we want the muscle brain connection to do the stretching properly, the expansion of the muscles properly, so that it can contract like like a spring coming back with larger force, and you get a better kinetic power to move forward. So extension of muscle is important, right? We know that. That's the second sort of corollary of that statement. Now comes the third point, which just Dimple and Madhu talked about, is yoga is about giving you that extension training that will help you in the next running position, because your muscles are used to getting extended. But the fourth point that we haven't talked about, which I experienced personally, is when you expand the muscle, what hours we don't teach in dynamic stretching is that you focus on breathing as well. Because when you expand the muscle needs a lot of oxygen to remain in the state of expansion. And yoga, by its very, the five things we talked about, breathing coming together, muscles coming together, it also, Dimple has focused and forced me to keep breathing when I'm in those pretty amazing positions. And I realized immediately that when I breathe, which is my immediate reaction is not to breathe, hold my, somehow hold the position and hold it. And she sees that and says, no, Bala, please, start breathing. And I suddenly feel my muscle is getting able to hold the position better. That means you're able to expand your muscles better. That means you're in the stretching position better. So it's actually powerfully connecting all of this together to the extension portion of it. Thereby contraction will be better. Thereby your running will be better. Scientifically, I can connect these things together from a running coach standpoint as well as a yoga practitioner standpoint. Wonderful explanation. Thank you. Thank you for that, guys. Let's step back for now. We just had a good, I know that we can have another maybe couple of hours of discussion in this, because I know we barely touched the surface. But Madhu, I want to make sure that whatever I have experienced it thus far, I want my runners to experience it too. Yeah. And I know that we have had a good conversations about what is it that we can do. But before we do that, why don't you talk a little bit about your company? What is it that it does? And then we can talk about some of the cool offerings that we have discussed that we can give to our runners.
Yeah, absolutely. So FitnessKriya, the name of the company is FitnessKriya.com. The vision we have, that the team at FitnessKriya is essentially connecting the Western world with amazing teachers like Dimple, who are very highly qualified, have university degrees in yoga, for one-to-one private classes that can be customized for them. And they can get all the benefits of therapeutic yoga customized, but at very affordable prices. I do want to emphasize that in US, there's no dearth of yoga. There's a lot of yoga. Yoga is a household word on these days. Lots of yoga studios. But again, it's group classes mostly. It's studios. The one-to-one benefit is very hard to get from that. And if it is available, it is a very high ticket. It's a price ticket. It's $50 to $70 an hour. So people tend to think of those as packages, like a 6-pack or a 12-pack. I'll do it, then I'll do it by myself. And then you lose the accountability. So we are trying to bring this same experience at a price point so that people can make it a way of life. What I benefited, my migraine went away. Traditional medications did not work. I went to neurologists. I took so many packs of steroid. Nothing worked. I was ready to file for disability. Nothing worked, but this worked for me. So I felt that's a gap, which I just want, everyone to experience it. So that's hence FitnessKriya, and
It's
that's
beautiful,
basically
beautiful
our.
vision. And as a early user of FitnessKriya, there are some points that I want to also share from my side, from my experience standpoint. So, folks, first of all, FitnessKriya was introduced to me by my best good friend. You are our legend, Sonia. Okay, and she said that, hey, Bala, you got to try this. I did all kinds of crazy training for my this bad water marathon, and this helped me to recover. And when Sonia says that, it means something, because she, she's different. And so I said, I'll definitely try Sonia. So my experiences, I would, Madhu, if I, as your user, if I have to bring out three wonderful things about FitnessKriya. Item number one is the concept of one-on-one, which is incredibly important, because it is not one size fits all for yoga. Because it is Surya Namaskar, I know it from when I was a 5-year-old. I've been doing my own way. And just recently, after Dimple only, I realized that, my God, I got to move this thumb here. Then only this value comes in, and my body position is putting the toe to that side. Small thing like that, which completely messes up the use of Surya Namaskar, for instance. And I realized that in certain positions, my body doesn't allow me to do the full rotation. So I kind of do something else. So then immediately I see Dimple says, hey, don't go for so much, go for this one, which is adjusting my body to what is possible. It's not a 1, it need not be a 0, you can be a 0.5. What that 0.5 is, only a coach can see live, and then make those adjustments to bring that for. That's what I experienced, that one-on-one. What one-on-one means, this is what my experience has been. Customizing the knowledge to you live. It's important live. Just giving a big lecture is not going to help me. Actually telling me, move this thing there, move that thing there, that type of stuff is really helped me. That's one I already experienced. Now, second thing, folks, I did is I asked Madhu, before I do this, I want to experience not just one, because it's possible that just one person is amazing and then rest all are like, just sort of learning the tips of the day. I want to experience as many, and I've till now experienced 4. And Madhu has promised me that she'll introduce me to maybe another, how many hours is there? I will keep experiencing it on the side. One common thing I saw across all of them, they're all not, they are more towards the yoga therapy material. Like they're all like sort of trained in this as from a college and all that standpoint. They are not only good practitioners, they know the theory behind it, which is very important. So they're going towards the therapy side on that continuum, not just a teacher, but on the yoga. And that's shown through in all the 4 or 5 examples. All of them are good communicators, which is very important. When you are on Zoom and that kind of, you need to communicate well. Otherwise, it becomes, surgery successful, but the patient died. We did the yoga, but nothing really happened because we are not able to understand each other. All of them. So that's a good thing. A coach is important to communicate properly. I saw that comment. So kudos to you, Madhu, for maintaining a certain level of quality with the 4 or 5 folks that I saw. And then the third one I'm seeing, which is also important, at price point, right? The price point is important because quickly it can add up. If I have to do 8 classes at $70, $80 a class, you are looking at like some pretty amazing number. And I'm like, no, sorry, it's okay. I don't need to be that flexible for $600 a month. It's okay. I've lived for 20 years without being flexible. I'll continue to be inflexible with my body, but I'm at least having a flexibility of having some cash in my pocket, right? So I think you really addressed that, right? But so I really think these 3 package, one-on-one personalized with high-end yoga instruction talent that can customize you to your needs with a decent pricing, which you're going to talk a little bit about it. And even the tech platform is also, I would say, as a 4th item, which is very convenient to use. It's just beautiful. And maybe I have some suggestions, which we'll talk on offline to make it even more. I mean, I'm at the end of the CEO of a tech company, so it goes through that a little bit. So I do think it's a wonderful service you're providing, Madhu. Congratulations for this idea. I only wish you all the very best. And I hope that our runners will also experience the same goodness that I experienced in the last 5 sessions. So on that, let us talk about that. What can we offer to our runners? What are something special that can offer to runners? Why don't you enumerate a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, Bala. So we would love, like, in the spirit of spreading this and helping as many people as we can. What we would love to offer, it's a very exclusive offer for your running group, would be the 3 free classes. Usually the standard for FitnessKriya is we have 1 free class to try, and then the paid classes start. So we would like to offer 3 free classes with no obligation. And we would also like to offer a lifetime discount of 10%. What I mean by lifetime is, as you sign up for a subscription plan. So let me take a step back. The way our pricing model works, it's a monthly subscription with a 28-day billing cycle. And you can choose a plan to do 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, but every 28 days you get billed. So in that 28-day cycle, we would offer a 10% discount for the lifetime until you cancel.
If we go through the runners side, for the runners side runners.
Yeah, we will be providing a unique code and a unique link, and only through that we would get the special offer. We've never had an offer like this. It's an offer specially just for the Runners High group.
That's amazing. And just for for people, I'm sure. First of all, thank you. For 3 classes, no obligations. Nothing else. I would like all of you to go and try the 3 classes. Okay, no obligations, because it's also about spreading the goodness by only trying. No amount of these podcasts is going to help. It helped me. Only when I started doing it, I realized, oh Lord, okay, now I'm a believer. So I would like all of you, irrespective of whether you want to do it or not, just go and try it out. Do and check it out first. That's the right thing to do to start with. Thank you so much for giving us a 10% discount, which is what other partners have given as well, to an already low starting point, because I remember you said that was your business model. So cutting off 10% from there means you're actually, really, I know that you probably are going very close to the scrapping the bottom kind of a thing. But even with that, let's say for someone who's doing 2 classes or 8 classes in that 28-day period, what does pre 10%, post 10% on a per class comes to on an average approximately?
Yeah, the post 10, it depends on what plan you take, but roughly give or take, it's around $15 per class. It's lower than that of a group class today. Like if you drop into a group class with 20 people, generally, depending on where you are, is $20, $25. That'll come to post 10% discount, roughly, I would say $15 per class.
So $15 per class is what, at the end of the day, the bottom line is that $70. I remember we talked about 60 and 70, and you're talking about 15 one-on-one, direct to your house, professional therapist level yoga with an awesome communication, customizing the need for you with a no obligation try, and then you can always after some time, if you don't like it, I mean, still we are friends. We'll continue to do what we have to do. On top of that, folks, on top of all of that, I was sort of challenging Madhu. Hey, Madhu, let's do something more. We want more, we runners more. And she said, yeah, let's do something more. And we are currently thinking, we're working through, and as with Runners Eye, we will do execute fast. We don't like keep thinking, we'll execute. We'll also think about offering a group class, which will be, you just come, join the group class, no expense for you. We will take care of it from our side. So is that fair to say? Is that a fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a nice thing because it helps to build community also. Like we have the one-on-one classes, whether you do one-on-one or not. Group class, regardless, is just a nice community builder. And yes, we would absolutely be honored to offer that. It's in the works. I would say it'll take a few weeks, but definitely we would love to bring that for this group.
So we can do some group classes where we have one instructor is not instructing to any one particular person, just laying through for, I'm sure Dimple has done this many times live. She'll probably do it on online as well. We all just follow through. It'll be fun to see everybody in all kinds of bad positions, and we feel good about it. I'm better than that person at least, So
we can rotate different things like hip opening one day, and then hamstring stretch. Like we can just create themes more around what will benefit the runners.
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that. And also, guys, this is some question I'm going to ask myself and answer it. So I'm sure you have this question. Hey, Bala, then how does it work with our running program? Because we also have a strength training and all that. So how does it go? So here is what my thinking is, folks. Think of yoga as a recovery thing. think of that because it recovers. Like, you remember the extension thing that we talked about? It's a recovery item. Sonia said the same thing, if you remember. So it's not that, one over other. So my suggestion is, that's what I'm going to do. Test it out. Hopefully it'll work. I think it'll work. 2 classes a week you should take, which is one-on-one, customized to you. And I'm going to work with Madhu on the side. And, I'm suggesting 2 classes a week you take, and take homework for another 3 days. Like, do it for not 1 hour, but, I'd ask the instructor to give a 15, 20 minutes. Hey, every day, 20 minutes, you do this, just practice this kind of thing, which is what I did. And today Dimple saw that I've improved because I was trying that. So 3 days you practice 20, 25 minutes of practice of yoga, which is a good thing. You remember, it'll take you to happiness. So it's always a good thing to focus on becoming happy. And then 2 classes, 2 times, do nothing. So in a 5-day period, if you think about it, you have about 4 days of run, 1 long run. I think post long run recovery stretch, which is what recovery yoga is what I'm going to do. So that is 1 day. And then the remaining 6 days, 1 day is off completely for both running and yoga is off. So you have 5 more days remaining. 3 days you will run. And in that 3 days, do 2 days of that recovery type of yoga thing that I said. So you have 3 days of yoga is already done. Add 1 more day along with the strength, or mix it with the strength day. So in that way, it's totally doable to do 2 focused, maybe 1 on the Monday when we don't give you anything. You can do a good 1 hour session with the Monday probably, or something like that. And you can do 1 over the weekend, post your long run or pre-long run. Could be anything. You can try it out. This is one approximately, and we can learn together how this can go to, I was also talking to Madhu about how do we synchronize this with the season. All of things to come. Okay. But the goal here is, let's start with a 3-day, test it out first, whether it works for you or not, whether whatever I'm saying and we are saying makes sense, or whether we are like, just saying something, it doesn't, you don't even believe in it. That's fine. It happens. So check it out first. If you like it, use our 10% phenomenal discount offer that has been given to sign up for a class, and check it out. I'm sure Madhu will help you out with connecting with the right, basis your timing and the needs and all that. Check it out. And after that, by which time we will figure out the group thing, group offering, so that in that way, that is also there. Some of our coaches have already started. Coach Suja, Coach Srivatsan have done the same, and they are really happy with what they're experiencing. So we have 3 coaches saying this right now. And Coach Mo is also an ex-yoga practitioner, as you all know. So, I really think it's a net positive try to do this. And let's build some cases, and we'll see where we land as a runner. And then hopefully we reach a point where suddenly we see our runners killing their runs. And then me and Dimple are fighting. It's because of me, or is it because of Dimple that they're killing their runs? We'll come to that happy place shortly. But have I summarized that well, Madhu, in terms of the offering?
You've summarized it beautifully. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm assuming we will send a link at some point right after this, and then they can just click on that and just go through the flow of things. Yeah. Dimple, my coach, yoga coach, thank you. Thank you for all the knowledge, and it's been an amazing experience chatting and learning from you. Not just today, but also in the classes. I really hope to continue this. Any last few words from you, and we can talk, and then we can bring this to an end.
I'm really very thankful for getting this opportunity, actually, because most of the time when it comes, it's just a person wants to recover from the medical conditions and don't want to get into the postures or yoga in a detailed way. But really, by my side, it's like you are really a very good student, very much like whatever I'll be saying, you follow it very sincerely without any sort of keeping it even a doubt. And the most appreciating thing is, even though if you're taking 2 sessions a week, but next days you will be keep on following, that I can see in the next session the difference. I'll be able to notice very easily in next session, that at least the other days you have practiced not even 1 hour but at least 30 minutes or something. That's really, really very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimple.
And I'm really very happy even to be the part of FitnessKriya team, where I'm getting this opportunity where I can apply what I want, actually. Because when it comes to a group class, you can't present yourself that well. When it comes to one-on-one, one-on-one is like most of the focus in one person, a complete roadmap you'll be preparing for everyone, and then you'll be working on that roadmap without missing any of the things. So that's really good.
Thank you, Dimple. All the very best for your PhD thesis and dissertation. Madhu?
No, thank you again. Similar. Thank you for the opportunity, Bala. It has been amazing. Thank you for your support. And I wish all the best to all the runners who are listening.
Thank you, Madhu, and thank you, Dimple, again for being our special guest. And let's hope for the best for our runners. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye.